there? Anybody? That's good to hear, because I'm running for governor. I'm Andrew White. I'm running for governor of Texas as an independent Democrat. All right, what the heck is an independent Democrat? Let me tell you what, I made it up. I'm an entrepreneur. We do things differently. An independent Democrat is somebody who will unite progressives and moderates together and invite independents into our party. Because we have to make the Big Tent a little bigger if we're going to win in November, right? I mean, I'm running statewide here, guys. This is a red as red gets, right? I'm not running the Lloyd Doggett's district that's been gerrymandered blue. We got to do something different. Wendy Davis, God bless her, she lost by 21 points, right? You know, Lupe lost by 13, and Beto, who's probably the greatest progressive candidate in our lifetime, raised more money than any Democrat ever. He still lost by 1 million votes, right? So we have to do, my dad would say this when I was young, right? You have to do something different if you expect different results. It turns out, I think all of our dads have been telling us that, but it is true. We have to do something different. So here's different. I've never been a politician. I'm a 30-year entrepreneur. I've started 4 businesses, and I've sold those 4 businesses to run for this election. 2 businesses were in residential services. 1 business was in clean tech. We recycled millions of pounds of waste at industrial facilities. And the other business was a border security business. You think Greg Abbott wants to talk border security? I would be happy to talk border security with Greg Abbott. So that's what we have to do. We have to bring a different candidate to the race if we're going to win this race. I am ready to fight for education. I can be a real son of a teacher. What did y'all think I was going to say? Well, yeah. I'm a son of a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. I'm not even done. My sister was a teacher. And most importantly, my wife was a teacher, okay? My dad was a former governor of Texas who did more for public education than any governor in our lifetime. Listen, guys, if I don't get education right as governor, I'm not invited to dinner, all right? Yeah, we're going to have to get it right. And here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to end private school vouchers. Yeah! We've got that right. That's $1 billion of our money going to private schools. They don't need our money. They don't need our money, but here's what we're going to spend it on. We're going to create full-day, high-quality, universal pre-K for every 4-year-old in Texas with that money. Greg Abbott wants to give $1 billion to private schools. I want to give $1 billion so our 4-year-olds can have universal pre-K. Think about what that does for families, too. It takes the pressure off the family. Those young families trying to raise their kids in Texas takes a lot of pressure off that budget. The second thing we're going to do with education is real simple. We've been paying our teachers $10,000 below average. We're going to pay them $10,000 more so they can at least be average. A great education, we all know, starts with a great teacher. And we have to attract and retain those teachers. We also have to take care of our retired teachers because their cost of living isn't keeping up with the cost of living. That's a problem as well. The third thing we're going to do in education is we're going to have 2 years of free vocational education. These are guys we need to train tomorrow's workforce. And everyone's hearing about AI. Well, AI breaks down to electricity. And electricity needs electricians. And we don't have enough. And it needs plumbers. And it needs HVAC techs. We don't have enough. And you shouldn't have to have a school loan hanging over your shoulders if you're going to be in the vocational education system. All of those things, we have a plan for doing that without raising taxes. Because we can't raise taxes in this state. We know that it's not going to happen. So we have to get creative, and we have a plan on our website for how we're going to do that. The second thing that matters to me is healthcare. Yeah. Healthcare is eating our lunch. Every year it goes up by double-digit rates, and we can't keep up, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to expand Medicaid. Everybody knows we need to expand Medicaid. Guys, it's the start of what has to happen. Let me just tell you the math real fast here. It doesn't take a genius to understand this. The federal government offered Greg Abbott a deal. They said, we'll give you $10 in health care. All you got to do is put up $1. Greg Abbott said no. And we lost out on $100 billion of funds for our hospitals in Texas. Those are Texas jobs as well. Those rural hospitals are closing. Already 20 have closed, which are oftentimes the center of the community, and they don't come back. Once they're closed, it's hard to get those jobs back. And so we're going to expand Medicaid. But we're going to do more, because I'm an entrepreneur. Expanding Medicaid is just the beginning. We're going to create Texas Cares, which is a healthcare co-op that will cut out the middleman, no insurance. Because insurance just adds 30% to the cost, and they're just going to deny your claim anyway, right? We're going to have transparent pricing, so that when you walk into the doctor's office, just like when you walk into HEB, you know what you're paying for. And we're going to have a reinsurance program so that if you do have a catastrophic event, healthcare, like a heart attack or cancer or something like that, you still have coverage. And we're going to cap out-of-pocket costs to a percentage of your income. So it's always affordable, because it's a percentage of your income. Now, if you want to keep your private plan, you can keep your private plan. But healthcare should be affordable and available for every Texan, and it's not. And we have to do something different. Now, guys, every idea I just gave you came from Mark Cuban, one of the greatest entrepreneurs in our country, right? We have to start listening to some fresh ideas. We can't just keep on doing the same old thing and expecting different results. Exactly. So we have to do something different with healthcare before it really gets out of hand. The last piece is this: infrastructure. Guys, you remember Winter Storm Uri. Let me tell you about what really happened behind the scenes, okay? We all experienced it, but here's the economics of what happened. In Texas, they have a mechanism for electricity. Normally, electricity sells for about 4 cents a kilowatt. There's a cap of 900 cents. So when Winter Storm Uri happened, all the gas lines froze, right? And so no one could get power. No one could get power. But the power price was capped at 900 cents for 5 days. Normally trades for 4 cents. That's a $45 billion tax. That's on every one of our utility bills today. It's $6,000 per family. I call that the Abbott tax, because he could have uncapped those rates. The market did not work, and he didn't do it. And that's cost us $6,000 per family. The last piece on infrastructure is this. I'm here in Kerrville talking to you guys about the flood on the 4th of July. I don't feel qualified to do that, but I am going to tell you my experience. My wife and I woke up that morning with some really scary text messages. They didn't know where my son was. He's my 18-year-old, my little boy. And he was a camp counselor at La Junta, right below Mystic. And he was in the cabin that got hit. And so we rushed down here like crazy. And we found out that he was okay, thank God. We found out in a school gym right down the street. And that was one of my favorite days of my life, because it was just so darn scary. What we found out was that he and his 3 counselors had swum 37, 8, and 9-year-old boys. They swam them into the rafters in the middle of the night, pitch black. Didn't know what's going on. These are 18-year-old boys. 3 out of 4 of them were Eagle Scouts. My son's Eagle Scout. And I don't know if you've ever been on a camp out before, but things get wild on camp outs. These boys were ready. And they did what it took. And they saved these lives. And I talked to my son afterwards, and my son's 6'3" and just solid muscle. And he was like, "Dad, we almost didn't make it. It was that hard." And they were stuck with about this much air left, and he was hitting the underside of the cabin ceiling because he didn't know if the water was ever going to stop. And it got to the point where he didn't think it was going to stop. And so he and his buddy from high school, who was his co-counselor, they prayed their last prayer. And they prayed so that the little boys couldn't hear them. They didn't want to scare the little boys. But they thought that was it. And then thank God the water receded. My neighbors, they weren't so fortunate. My neighbor's daughter didn't come home. And it wasn't too long after that day. I had been thinking about running for governor. I ran before, and I know it's a real investment of time and energy. After that day, I was committed to running for governor, because what I found out was, as you all know, our state just didn't step up. They didn't step up to the needs of this community. It doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to know what can happen with that river. We've all seen it. We've been here before. We should have known better. And I want to be clear, I'm not just blaming Greg Abbott for this. It's a natural catastrophe. I'm blaming all of them, every single one of them. because we knew better and we didn't take care of our people, especially our kids. And that's why I got committed to run. And listen, let me tell you what. You guys don't know me very well, but I'm a fighter and I don't give up. I just don't quit. And I will do whatever it takes to beat Greg Abbott, because he's the wrong man to lead this state. It's absolutely. It's time for a change. We have to do something different. We cannot live like this. We can do better. And that's why I'm running. But hey, I can't do this on my own. I need y'all's help. There's 10 people on this ballot, and they're all great people. I respect them. But we need a candidate who can beat Greg Abbott. That's what this is about, and that's who I am. So thank you very much. I appreciate your support, and I'll here to take any questions you may have. Thanks very much. And you can, if you don't want to use the microphone, you can shout it out. Whatever. Yes, ma'am.
Questions?
I'm very interested in your comments on vocational education, and that sort of took me by surprise. My name is Pat Heidel. I'm precinct chair, and I'm very active, but I'm in a rural community in Center Point, Texas. 202 is the precinct number, and it's huge. Imagine rural Texas, and you will imagine Center Point. You are the first candidate that I've ever heard mention vocational training. I understand the vouchers, but at Center Point High School, they're not going to go to private schools. So I really fought in the last election. My background in vocational education is that I started out in the federal government in the Job Corps program. If you know the Job Corps program, you should. I am amazed and very happy that you are talking about vocational education in rural Texas.
Absolutely. So
okay, please keep doing it, and I'll talk to you later.
We need 1,000 electricians in Texas today. And these are great jobs.
Right. I'm not talking about the jobs. I'm talking about talking to the people who will hear you.
Yes.
Okay. And there is vocational training. But when you say vocational training and you say electricians, you are talking to my precinct.
Yes.
And quite frankly, there are no Democrats that are talking to my precinct, except the ones that I know personally.
That's why I need to be out there running, because we have to talk to every Texan.
And if you talk vocational training in rural Texas, that will be a first.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you for underlining that. And there's a lot more that I want to do. I mean, here's another one, raising the minimum wage. You know, it hasn't been raised since 1996, right? It's at $7.25. If it just went to inflation, it'd be at least 11 or 12. But here's the thing, not a lot of people make the minimum wage. That's fine. When you raise the minimum wage, it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. We have an affordability problem, right? Well, I'm not going to be able to lower costs, but by raising the minimum wage, we can raise the standard of living for a bunch of Texans, not just the ones making the minimum wage. But we raise it up, and it raises everyone's wages so they're competitive. Any other questions? I'd love to answer. Yes, sir.
I think there's a lot of boys from these kind of smaller towns that aren't interested in going to a four-year college and want to do vocational things. And we need home builders, we need plumbers, electricians, and mechanics. And these guys out here that live in these small towns, they want to learn more how to do that, because also the new vehicles and the new houses aren't like the old houses, so they do need an education.
The new houses aren't built as well as the old houses were, that's for sure. And I totally get that. And let me go one step further, guys. You know, with AI coming on, and we've all heard about what's happened with AI, it scares the bejeebies out of me. It really does. And, you know, I feel like another reason why I need to be governor, quite frankly, is I understand the technology. I understand what it's doing and what it can do. And we need a governor who's not going to sell us out on these issues. It's really, really scary if you dive deep into what AI can do and wants to do. So we need some real leadership on that to protect us. It's critical. Yes?
I'd like to say one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. heavy equipment operators. That's how you get rural Texas.
Yep,
And I just
yep.
don't, I mean, AI is great, but they don't know what the hell AI is.
It's-
I don't even know what
we
it
have to
is.
talk
Right.
jobs,
Talk to them.
we have to talk water,
Right.
and there's too much in some places and not enough in other places. In East Texas right now, there's a Dallas billionaire who wants to literally pipe dang near all the water in East Texas to Dallas and sell it and become a multi-billionaire. And I'm pretty sure that's not what, I mean, like what the water rights are for, not to make billionaires into multi-billionaires, right? So we're gonna run this race and talk about rural issues, and that's why we're gonna win. Because yeah, we're not gonna win Kerr County, we're not gonna win, but we have to lose by less. And those margins make a huge difference. Guys, I've looked at the map, 254 counties, and when you look at Houston, we'll win by hundreds of thousands of votes in Harris County. But we'll lose by 24,000 here, and 12,000 there, and 9,000 there, and they all just add up. So we have to run a race that reflects the reality of the state that we live in. One of the things that I'm going to do is, and I think this is going to be really helpful. So Beto ran a 254 county race, right? And oh my God, that dude has superhuman strength. I mean, I've spent some time with him. He never slows down. I mean, he never slows down. And we're the same age too, which makes me feel really old. I don't know what he's got, but we have to do something, right? So that's what he did. And here's what I want to do. When I win the nomination, which will probably be in the runoff, right? Because there's 10 names on the ballot. We're going to do a trail ride all across Texas, and we're going to visit every rural community, and we're going to talk about the issues that matter to them. Now imagine what's going to happen. We're going to pull up on a horseback into the county square, and we're going to get off our horse with all of our friends in the whole county, and we're going to talk about the issues that matter to them. Agriculture, right? Ranching, right? Water, right? You're going to hear about the agriculture here in a second. But this is how we win. This is absolutely how we win. So you have to, it goes back to being an entrepreneur, you have to do something different if you expect different results. And that's what we're doing. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
It's a harsh question, so sorry. What are you going to do about the raping and pillaging of all of our resources in Texas, not just water?
Oh, yeah. So you're referring to
The
wind and
wind and our trees and our mountains and our...
There's absolutely, it's a great question, and actually Piper, who works with me today, we were just talking at lunch, and she asked me a question that was really, I think, out of right field, and she's like, what are you going to do about the bovine flatulates that are affecting our greenhouse gases? And this is her first day on the job. I was like, this is going to be an interesting little trip here. We're talking about bovine flatulates. But I said, you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to ask the guys over at Texas A&M to look at ways that we can design feed or things that we can put into their feed that will reduce the flatulence naturally, right, at no additional cost. And we can do creative solutions like that. And the only thing that takes is leadership. It just takes leadership, leaders who care. So
And the fracking flatulence also?
yeah. And managing those oil wells that are been ignored for 20 years and they're flowing into the water, all of that just takes leadership. All of our problems can be solved in simple ways with great leadership, and we just don't have it today. Yes, ma'am.
In regards to the affordability issue here in this area, through the years of my work as a counselor and certainly as a pastor through the years, but what are you going to do, or how are you going to manage the affordable housing for individuals who are making minimum wage, maybe a little bit better, and they live in Center Point, and people in Kerrville want them to work, but the gas prices, the automobiles, keeping, transportation, just getting them from Center, because they can't afford to live in Kerr County. So they live in Center Point, they live in Ingram, and they make very little. There's such a disparity.
Yeah.
And the people that really truly work, the disabled, those who are on the spectrum, those who have disabilities, and yet they're supposed to be taken care of, but they can't afford to live here.
I know.
And there's no public transportation, there's nothing here to support the
We-
people who work for the people who have the money here.
We have 30 years of Republican control over everything you just talked about. And there are individual answers. So we talked a little bit about raising the minimum wage. We talked about a healthcare co-op. There's another idea that we're going to do, which is we're not going to allow private equity firms to own houses in Texas. Right? And they're buying them by the thousands. Listen, there's a cap. You can't own more than 100 homes. And that's a simple, fair cap. Because you shouldn't have to compete with Blackstone to buy your first home. Right? And so there's answers to all of these questions if we had leaders who cared about those answers. They're so focused on trans sports and they're focused on the color of your crosswalk that they're not focused on the things that really matter. You know? And the problem is it works. It's been working for them. So why do they do it? Because it works. It's effective. Right? And so we have to be strategic and we have to be a little ruthless about what we're going to do for nominating the next governor, because we have to win. It's important that we win this race. Yes, ma'am.
Time, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But there will be a breakout.
Oh, good. Can
Well,
I
you
end
can-
with Kathy?
You can end with Kathy, she
Perfect.
was your.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I just think it would be helpful to point out that in 30 years of Republican leadership, the cronyism, the privatization of state government agencies is just heartbreaking.
You got that right.
People realize
Everything's being sold at the highest bidder. Listen, one thing I'm super proud of my dad about is a ton that he did, House Bill 72, education, teacher pay raises. But one thing he did was he appointed more women to state boards and university boards than every governor combined in history up to that point, right? And his point was, he made a huge point of there was a public utility commission, and there was never a woman who had ever sat on the public utility commission. And my dad was like, who pays the bills in your house? You know, we need a woman on that commission. Anyway, he appointed more women to more commissions. We can't just sell out these commissions. And it goes back to what I said about Winter Storm Uri and what he did with 900-cent power. It's costing us $6,000 a year. So it's just bad leadership all across the board. So thank you very much I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all for coming out.